Razia lived in a small village, where houses were old, streets were dusty, and dreams were small, but hearts were big. She wasn't rich, she didn't have jewelry or land, but she had something far more valuable. She had hope. When she found out she was pregnant, her eyes filled with tears, tears of joy, fear, love, and responsibility. Her husband, Yusuf, held her hand and whispered, "This child will be our world." Those words became her strength. The day Amir was born, the sky was clear, the morning breeze felt softer, and every prayer of Razia came true. She held her son close and kissed his forehead. "You are my blessing," she whispered. From that moment, her life was no longer her own. Amir grew day by day, but motherhood changed Razia forever. Every night when Amir cried, she woke up instantly, not because she wanted to, but because her heart woke up before her body could. Many days she didn't eat properly so Amir could have enough milk. Sometimes she cried silently because she felt tired, but even through tears, she kept smiling at her son. One night, Yusuf noticed her exhaustion and asked, "Razia, don't you ever get tired?" She smiled softly and replied, "A mother doesn't get tired. She just rests when her child is in her arms." Years passed, and Amir became a smart young boy. Razia stayed behind washing clothes, cooking meals, packing his school bag, and waiting for him at the door every afternoon. As Amir grew more involved with school, friends, and life, Razia began to hear words she was never prepared for. One day, Amir said, "Ami, stop bringing my tiffin to school. It's embarrassing." Razia smiled, but her heart fell silent. Another day, "Ami, why do you keep waiting for me at the door? I'm grown now." She nodded again. Even though her chest felt heavy, she wanted to say, "Because every moment without you feels incomplete." But a mother's love rarely speaks, it only feels. When Amir completed school, he got a scholarship for a university in the city. It was good news. Everyone celebrated. Everyone except Razia's heart. The night before he left, she packed his clothes again and again, not because they needed repacking, but because she didn't know how to stop her shaking hands. Amir hugged her lightly and said, "Ami, don't worry, I will call every day." She nodded. She believed him. But life in the city was fast. Days passed, then weeks, sometimes entire months. His calls got shorter, then rare, then eventually only came when he needed something. Still, every night, Razia waited next to her phone thinking, maybe today, maybe now, maybe he will call. Years later, Amir completed his studies and became successful. He had a good job, a modern lifestyle, new friends, and big dreams. But the dream that nurtured all his dreams, the mother who once carried him Zoli, disappeared from his priority list. One day Razia called him and said, "Beta, your father is getting weak. We miss you. When will you visit?" Amir, busy typing an email, replied, "Ami, I don't have time right now. I'll plan something." Those words cut deeper than any knife. After the call ended, Razia stood silently near the window. Her eyes were wet, but her lips still prayed, "Ya Allah, keep him happy, even if he forgets me." One day, Yusuf became very ill. Doctors said he needed treatment immediately. Amir sent money, but didn't come. Razia never complained. Not once. Not to him. Not to God. Not to herself. She stayed beside her husband and took care of him until his final breath. Before Yusuf closed his eyes forever, he held Razia's hand and said, "You raised a son. Now Allah will raise your patience." After his death, the house became silent, painfully silent. Razia now had only one purpose left in life, to wait for her son. Every festival, every birthday, every sunset, she waited. One evening, after many years, Amir finally returned to the village. His clothes were expensive, his shoes shiny, his watch branded, but his heart felt empty. When he reached home, he saw the door slightly open. He walked inside and called Ami. There was no answer. But he saw her sitting in the courtyard, holding an old box filled with his childhood belongings. When she saw him, her eyes widened like someone who had finally found breath after drowning. She stood up slowly and whispered, "Amir, my son." Amir rushed to her, hugged her and said, "Ami, I'm here." Her hands trembled as she held his face, tears falling from her eyes. She didn't ask him, "Why didn't you call? Why didn't you come? Why did you forget me?" She only said, "You're home. That's enough." Because a mother never counts wounds. She only counts blessings. And for her, her son's return was the greatest blessing on earth. Razia woke up early the next morning. The sun hadn't risen yet, But her heart already felt warm because her son was finally home. She quietly walked into the kitchen, moving slowly, carefully as if every noise might break the fragile moment. She finally received after years of waiting. She lit the stove and began preparing Amir's favorite breakfast: fresh parathas, homemade butter, warm milk, and the chutney he loved as a child. As the butter sizzled on the hot pan, her eyes softened with memories. She whispered to herself, "Ya Allah, thank you. After so long, my home feels alive again." Chapter 8. A home filled with silence. Meanwhile, in the next room, Amir sat awake, staring at the old walls. The wooden cupboards, the faded curtains, everything looked the same, yet everything felt different. This house had once been filled with laughter, stories, and warmth, but now, it felt like a museum filled with time, not life. For the first time, Amir noticed the cracks in the walls, the rust on the fan, the simplicity of the house. Most importantly, he noticed the wrinkles on his mother's hands, wrinkles that weren't from age, but from years of work, sacrifice, and waiting. Amir's throat tightened. He thought, I left her alone, she needed me, and I wasn't here. But before he could drown in regret, a soft voice interrupted his thoughts. Razia stood at the door holding a tray, her smile gentle, her eyes shining with love, her voice full of warmth. "Beta, breakfast is ready." Amir joined her on the floor. Sitting on the same old rug he used to sit on as a child, Razia served him lovingly, just the way she used to. First the paratha, then the butter, then the warm milk. As Amir took his first bite, he stopped. The taste. It hit him like a wave. A taste he had forgotten. A taste that carried comfort, childhood, and love. His eyes became moist, not because of spices, but because he remembered something his adult life made him forget. No food tastes like a mother's food, because no heart loves like a mother's heart. Razia noticed his silence. She smiled and gently touched his hair. "You always ate fast as a child. Today you're eating slowly. Why?" Amir looked at her. For years he had spoken with confidence, pride, strength, but now, his voice was small. "Because I missed this. I missed you, Ami." Razia's eyes softened. She didn't respond. She simply smiled and placed another paratha in front of him. Later that day, Amir walked through the village. Everyone recognized him. People greeted him warmly. Razia's son is home. Mash, he's grown so much. His father would be proud. Every word felt heavy. Every step reminded him of how much he had missed. Weddings, funerals, festivals, moments. He reached the old well, near their house, the place where his mother used to fetch water every morning. When he was a child, she would walk kilometers just to fill pots. He never thought about it then, but today, looking at her aging body, he finally understood. Every comfort I have came from her struggle. That evening, Amir sat outside under the sky with his mother. The stars glittered like old memories. After a long silence, he finally asked, "Ami, were you angry with me?" She looked at him surprised. Then she gently shook her head. "A mother doesn't get angry, she only waits." His eyes lowered. "But I wasn't here when Baba was sick. I wasn't here when you needed help. I wasn't here for anything." His voice broke. Razia placed her hand over his heart, the same way she did when he was little. "You were here? In every prayer I made. In every dia, in every heartbeat." Amir finally broke down quietly, painfully. A son who had forgotten. A mother who never stopped remembering. Later that night, Amir went to sleep in his old room. The pillows still smelled faintly of old cotton and memories. He fell asleep quickly, but Razia didn't. She walked into his room silently. She adjusted his blanket, tucking him in gently, just like when he was a child. Then she sat beside him, watching his sleeping face, memorizing it, like a blessing she never wanted to lose. With trembling hands, she touched his hair and whispered, "Ya Allah, I don't need wealth. I don't need comforts. I don't need anything in this world. Just keep my child safe, healthy and happy. That is enough for me." Tears fell silently from her eyes. The tears of a mother who loved deeper than words. She kissed his forehead softly. "My son, you are and always will be my greatest blessing." Amir didn't hear her voice, but his heart did. Morning sunlight filtered through the old curtains as birds chirped outside. For the first time in many years, Amir slept peacefully, not because he was tired, but because he finally slept under the roof where love lived. When he woke up, he saw something that broke his heart quietly. His mother sitting beside him, smiling, watching him sleep like he was still a child. She quickly wiped her eyes when she noticed he was awake. "Amir, you slept like an angel, just like when you were little." Amir smiled softly, but deep inside, something tugged at him, guilt mixed with love. Razia insisted he wash his face and come for breakfast. Today, the meal was simple: bread, tea, and homemade butter, but to Amir it felt more precious than any restaurant meal he ever had. After breakfast, Razia said, "Come with me. I want to show you something." She led him outside, walking slowly, carefully. They reached a small storage room behind the house. Dust covered the shelves, and old belongings lay scattered. Razia opened a wooden trunk, old worn, but carefully preserved. Inside were Amir's first shoes, his kindergarten drawings, his old school notebooks, his broken toy truck hand on top of everything, a small diary tied with ribbon. Razia handed it to him. "This is yours." Amir opened the diary. The first page read, "My Amir's Journey," written by Ami. His hands trembled. Page after page contained messages. Today was his first day at school. He cried, and so did I. He fell sick today. Ya Allah, give him health. He won first position today. My heart is proud. He left for the city today. The house feels empty. It has been 5 months since his last call. But I am sure he's busy. Tonight, I cried. I miss him. Ya Allah, protect my child wherever he is. By the last page, tears blurred his vision. The final line read, "Even if he forgets me, my prayers will never stop." The diary fell from his hands. He covered his face and cried, not softly, not silently, but painfully, deeply. Like a child who finally realized the worth of his mother, Razia sat quietly beside him, not asking why, not blaming, just placing her hand on his back, soothing him the same way she did when he was a little boy afraid of the dark. That afternoon, Amir sat outside watching children play in the streets. One little boy tripped and fell, before the dust settled. His mother ran, lifted him, wiped his tears, and kissed his forehead. The boy stopped crying instantly because a mother's touch heals faster than medicine. Amir whispered to himself, "No matter how old we become, we never stop needing our mothers. But sometimes, we realize it too late." Later in the evening, Amir noticed his mother coughing, a deep, tired cough. He asked, "Ami, since when are you unwell?" She smiled weakly. "Just a little weakness. Nothing to worry." But he noticed her hands shaking. He noticed how slowly she walked. He noticed how breathless she became after just a few steps. He felt a sharp pain in his chest. "Why didn't you tell me?" Her answer was simple and painful. "Because I didn't want you to worry." He held her hands. "I should have been here." Her eyes softened. "Allah was with me. And I knew one day, you would return." That night, Amir lay awake, staring at the ceiling, listening to the quiet breathing of the woman who gave him life. Thoughts rushed through his mind. A huge apartment in the city but no one waiting for him there. A high salary but no one to share happiness with. A successful life, but not a meaningful one. He turned and looked at his mother. Fragile, but peaceful. A love so pure, yet taken for granted. He whispered, "Ami, from now onward, you will never be alone again." The next day, Amir received a call from his office. "We need you back in 2 days. Your promotion and new project are ready." It was the dream he chased for years, but now, his heart was tied to something greater. He looked at his mother sitting in the garden, stitching his torn shirt like it was the most important task in the world. The officer on the phone said, "Sir, should we prepare everything?" Amir closed his eyes. His voice was calm, steady, emotional. "No, I won't be returning." There was shock on the other end. But Sir Amir interrupted gently, "Work can wait, a mother cannot." He ended the call. For the first time in his life, he chose love over ambition, presence over distance, family over the world. Amir walked to his mother and sat beside her. She looked at him, confused. "Why aren't you packing?" He took her hand and smiled. "Because I am not leaving." Her eyes widened. "But your job, your life." He placed his head in her lap, just like he used to as a child. "Ami, you are my life." Her eyes filled, not with sadness, not with regret, but with gratitude. She touched his hair and whispered, "Alhamdulillah." The wind blew gently. The sky felt brighter, and after many years, a mother's heart finally felt complete. Days passed, and the home that once felt empty now felt whole again. For Razia, every morning was now brighter. For Amir, every moment felt like rediscovering a treasure he once lost. He cleaned the house, repaired broken things, repainted the walls, planted flowers in the yard, and even brought a new water pump so his mother didn't have to walk far. Sometimes, Razia watched him quietly and whispered to herself, Ya Allah. You returned my son, not just to my house, but to my heart. One evening, while they sat together watching the sunset, Amir said, Emmy, I've been thinking. I want to start something here. A small business. Razia looked at him lovingly. Anything you choose will be good. Beta, he smiled. No. This time, I don't want to choose alone. I want your advice. For a moment, she was silent because in her entire life, no one had ever asked for her opinion. Finally, she said softly, Beta, open something that helps people. Amir absorbed her words deeply. Not a business for profit, but a business with purpose. In that single sentence, she taught him more wisdom than any university ever did. Weeks passed, and Amir opened a small grocery and essentials shop with reasonable prices, especially for widows, elderly people, and struggling families. When someone couldn't pay, he gave them the items anyway and said, Make dua, that is enough. People in the village respected him, but they respected Razia even more, because everyone knew it was her love, her prayers, and her sacrifices that shaped the man her son had become. But life doesn't give happiness without testing it. One cold evening, Razia began coughing harder than before. Her breathing became heavy. Her hands shook more than usual. Amir rushed to her side. Ammi, are you okay? She forced a smile. I'm just tired. But Amir knew this wasn't just tiredness. He helped her lie down and brought water, but the fear inside him grew. That night, while she slept, Amir stayed awake, sitting beside her, watching her chest rise and fall. For the first time in his life, he felt the fear every mother feels when watching her sick child. The next morning, Amir took Razia to the city hospital. When the doctor examined her, his expression changed serious, concerned. He called Amir outside. His voice was low. Your mother is weak. Her lungs are damaged, and she has been neglecting her health for years. Amir felt a chill run through his body. Is she going to be okay? The doctor sighed. She needs treatment and care, emotional and physical, and most importantly, she needs peace. Amir clenched his fists. If only he had come earlier. If only he had called more. If only he had been there. The doctor placed a hand on his shoulder. You can't change the past. But you can protect the time she still has. On the way back home, Razia looked out the window quietly. Amir finally asked, voice trembling, Ammi, why didn't you tell me you were sick? She closed her eyes gently. Because I didn't want to be a burden. His heart shattered. You are not a burden. You are my blessing, my greatest blessing. Her eyes softened. She touched his cheek, and you are my dua. From that day onward, Amir didn't let his mother lift anything heavy. He cooked for her, sat beside her while she rested, and gave her medicine on time. Sometimes she complained with a teasing smile, You're treating me like a child. Amir would respond, Because you spent your whole life treating me like one. Razia would laugh softly, a sound that felt like home. One night, as they sat under the moonlit sky, Razia asked Amir, Tell me something. Are you happy here? Amir nodded immediately. More than ever. She looked deeply into his eyes. Not everyone understands the value of a mother while she is alive. He lowered his gaze. She gently continued, You realized it in time. That is Allah's blessing. Amir swallowed hard. Ammi, I'm scared. She smiled faintly. Of losing me. Amir said nothing. His silence was louder than words. She placed her hand on his chest, over his heart. When a mother leaves this world, she doesn't go far. She moves from your arms to your heart. A tear dropped from Amir's eye. Razia wiped it gently. And as long as you remember me with love, I will never be gone. Later that night, while Amir slept, Razia made wudu, stood for prayer, and raised her hands. Her whisper was soft, but full of emotion. Ya, protect my son from pain. Fill his life with peace. Surround him with kindness. Grant him joy, and let him never feel alone. She wiped her tears and continued, And if my time is near, give him strength, because I know he finally loves me the way he always wanted to. After finishing her prayer, she walked to Amir, kissed his head, and whispered her final thought for the night. You were my life's greatest test, and my life's greatest blessing. Months passed, and one day the village celebrated a festival. Children decorated streets with lanterns. Houses glowed. Laughter filled the air. Amir gently wrapped a warm shawl around Razia. Come, Emmy, let's sit outside, it's beautiful tonight. She smiled faintly. Her steps were slow, her breathing shallow, but her eyes sparkled like a child seeing magic. They sat on the porch as the sky lit up with fireworks. Razia whispered, It reminds me of the day you were born. That night, my world lit up, just like this. Amir held her hand. And today, my world is complete because you're here with me. She smiled, tears glistening. A mother never needs the world. Just one child who remembers her with love. One night, Amir noticed his mother struggling to breathe. Her chest rose with effort, her lips dry, her gaze distant. He rushed to her. Ami, are you okay? Should I call the doctor? She shook her head gently. No, Beta, sit beside me. Allah blessed me with many things, she said softly, but nothing more precious than you. His voice trembled. Ami, don't talk like this. You're getting better. She gave a faint smile, the kind that held truth instead of hope. Some journeys only go forward, Beta, never backward. Amir froze. He knew, but he didn't want to accept it. Not yet, not now, not ever. The next days grew harder. Razia's strength faded faster. Walking became difficult. Eating became rare. Speaking became soft, barely above a whisper. Yet, she never complained. She never said she was scared. She never said she was in pain, because mothers carry pain quietly like air breathing inside them. One evening, just before Maghreb, Razia called softly, Amir. He ran to her. Yes, Ami, I'm here. She held his hand tightly. Sit, I want to talk to you. He sat, heart shaking. She took a slow breath. Promise me something. Anything, he whispered. Her eyes glistened. When I am gone, don't live in regret. Don't break. Don't drown in memories. Live. Be kind. Help others. And when you pray, remember me softly. Amir broke. Tears fell uncontrollably. Ami, please, don't say things like this. You're not going anywhere. She smiled, a mother's smile. Gentle, unshakable. Beta, even when a mother leaves this world, her love stays. It lives in the walls, in the laughter, in the prayers she made when no one was watching. She brushed away his tears. And mothers never truly die. They just return to Allah. The next morning arrived with silence. Not the peaceful kind, but the kind that feels heavy. Aami prepared tea and brought medicine. When he reached her room, he paused. Razia was sitting upright, eyes raised toward the window, where sunlight warmed her face. She looked peaceful, too peaceful. Amir whispered Amir. She turned her head slowly and smiled, the most calm, serene smile he had ever seen. Sit with me. I want to see the morning with you. He sat beside her. They didn't speak. The world outside continued. Birds flew. Neighbors talked. Children laughed. But inside, time slowed. After a long moment, Razia spoke quietly. Amir, hold my hand. He did. Her hand felt lighter, almost weightless. She closed her eyes and whispered, read Shahada with me. Amir froze, his lips trembled. But he did. Their voices blended, one steady, one fading. La ilaha illallah. Muhammadur Rasulullah. Her breathing slowed, her grip loosened. Her chest rose one more time, and fell gently. Amir waited, hoped, begged silently, but her chest didn't rise again. His voice shattered. Ami, silence. He shook her gently. Ami, please, wake up please. But mothers don't wake when Allah calls them. Amir held her against his chest, crying like the child he once was. His tears fell on her forehead. The same forehead she kissed countless times. The house that once filled with lullabies, stories, and prayers, now echoed with the sound of heartbreak. The village gathered, women cried, men lowered their heads, children stood silently. Everyone knew, a light of the world had gone. Amir washed her body with his own hands, shaking, crying, pausing between whispers. I'm sorry, forgive me, thank you, I love you. He wrapped her gently. He walked behind her to the graveyard, every step heavy as grief. When she was lowered into the earth, everything he feared for years became real. No more waiting for her voice. No more holding her hand. No more calling her Ami. But before the soil covered her, he whispered through tears, you were my first home, and now you are my forever prayer. Days passed. The house felt unfamiliar. Not because things changed, but because the heart inside it was gone. Sometimes, Amir woke, thinking she was calling his name. Sometimes he made tea and poured 2 cups out of habit. Sometimes he sat waiting to hear footsteps that would never return. But slowly, not quickly, not easily, slowly, he learned to live with her absence, not as emptiness, but as memory. He opened her diary and read, if one day I am not beside you, look at the sky. I will be there. And when you feel alone, place your hand on your heart. I will be there too. Months later, the villagers noticed something special. AAMIR transformed his small shop into a community store. Free meals for the elderly, groceries on trust, medicines for widows, school notebooks for poor children. When someone thanked him, he always answered, "Don't thank me. Pray for my mother." Soon, the store had a signboard, "Razia's blessing, a mother's love never ends." And people said, "A mother dies, but her goodness continues through her child." One evening, Amir sat alone under the sky like he once did with her. The stars glowed quietly. He whispered, "Ami, I miss you." A soft wind passed. Leaves are westled. And in the quiet, deep inside his heart, he felt something unexplainable, warm, comforting, gentle, a voice not heard by ears, but felt by the soul. "I am still here, Beta. In every prayer you make, in every kindness you give, in every breath you take, a mother never leaves. She only changes her place." A tear fell, but not from pain, from gratitude.